Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the June 9th, 2025 Planning Board meeting. With that, if everybody could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. My name is Tony No, Clerk of the Planning Board. Tonight's meeting is a hybrid meeting. You may participate in person or remotely via computer by going to zoom.us, entering access code 897-7122-6870, or by calling in at 301-715-8592. You can use *6 to mute and unmute a phone line. We ask all speakers to please identify yourselves at the podium or online each time you speak by stating your name, address, and town of residence for the record. We ask participants in person to use the microphone. Please address all comments and questions through the chair. Discussions or comments about town employees or board members shall be avoided so as to not violate individual rights. This is a public meeting and is being broadcast on local access and is being recorded by Millbury Public Access Cable Television. Available live on public access channels Charter 191 and Verizon 26.
Okay. First thing on our agenda is an A&R for 76 Burbank Road, I believe it is. I believe they made a call in. Is that correct, Connor?
Yeah, through the chair, they did not have the map ready for us tonight, or sorry, the plan ready for us tonight, so they did request an extension of the constructive grant deadline to the following meeting in July, which is July 14th. I would suggest extending the grant deadline to a day afterwards, July 15th.
Okay, do we have to make a motion on that?
Yeah. Motion to extend the constructive grant deadline to July 15th, 2025.
Second.
I got a motion, it's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Next on the agenda is...
Wait a minute, what's the matter, Terry?
Yes, go ahead, Terry.
Terry Burke, Dotson, 20 Sailor Terrace. I thought in the past there was a ruling that if somebody backs down at the last minute without giving enough time, if people were coming to speak on this and all of a sudden they get here and it's canceled, that's not fair. And the penalty would have been that they get put off a month.
We never made
We
that.
never made that.
We might have talked about it, Terry, but I don't think we ever did.
We never
Paperwork
made that.
You didn't?
did not get submitted on time, so they asked for continuance to the next meeting, so.
But there's no notification to the public, and that's
Well,
that should have been done.
Through the chair, this is an A&R plan, so there is no notification anyway to
not
the
a public hearing.
It's not, this is not a public hearing.
July 12th, a month anyway. Is that what you
It's
said,
about,
July?
kind of, sort of. Okay, now
It
I
is
just
a
want.
month.
Just wanted some clarification. Do you intend to do that, though, if somebody is
No,
scheduled for
I
a
doubt
public
it.
hearing?
No, I don't think so.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, another A&R. This one was from our last meeting off of Federal Hill Road. The gentleman who is working on this A&R is currently in Oxford, and Connor has the correct information, and we have our corrected documentation that Rich was looking for, I believe. Connor?
Yeah, through the chair, we did get a revised plan that does show the amount of square footage in each town for the parcels that are split by the town boundary, which I think was the request by the board. So they did make that adjustment. I can pull up the plan if you'd like to see it. It was also forwarded in your packets.
So, do we have to wait to see if Oxford signed off on it, or do we know they did, or?
Their meeting is happening at the same time tonight. You do not need to wait, so both boards will need to vote to endorse it. And then the Mylar is that you guys will sign is with Oxford tonight. So I will need to grab at least 3 of you guys later this week to just get your signature on it.
Okay. Okay, everything is in order, so
I'll make a motion to endorse the A&R plan entitled,
Through the chair. Go ahead.
go ahead.
what do you got?
Yeah, well, these things are confusing me. What is the purpose of this? Help me out here. I'm trying to, what's the purpose of it? You still got the lot in Millbury and a lot in Oxford. What's the purpose?
Well, through the chair, I
That's,
think I'm trying to summarize the applicant. What they expressed last meeting is they're just splitting up like a large family parcel into several smaller lots, as I think was.
Fran, it's your typical A&R where they're giving a portion of this lot to that person, or they're giving a portion of this land to Lot F, and another portion of this land to Lot C. That's all they're doing.
But they own it all.
Well,
It doesn't negate
It's
the,
different
It's
going to
different
family
families,
members.
so.
it's owned by a trust currently, but I believe the applicant said it's going to be split among surviving children or whatever.
what bothers me is it says not a buildable lot at this time.
That's correct.
What
So
exactly?
maybe they have to put roads in or something, who knows? That's not
That
for us
means you're making
to
it a
be
buildable lot.
concerned about. They don't
No, we're
have
not making it a
roads.
buildable lot.
They don't have roads.
There's no road there.
It's just
It would
they're
not be a
giving
buildable
property
lot
and
until-
moving property around.
I
That's all
mean,
they're
there
doing.
could be a road put in at some point in the future, but it is not buildable until there's a road that provides access.
I don't see it as that simple as moving property around.
The only thing that's
It
confusing
doesn't
you is,
accomplish anything.
the only thing that you're seeing is the town line, and 2 towns are involved in the same project.
Correct.
So that's the only reason that we're involved, because we have some of the land in our town. And they're looking for our approval to hand this portion of land to Lot C and Lot F and Lot whatever the lots may be.
For what purpose? That's my question.
It's none of our business.
It's none of our
for what
business.
purpose.
But what does it accomplish?
It's in a trust. They're trying to divide it up for members of the family. So each member of the family gets a
Go
piece of
ahead.
property.
Yeah, you're a
Yeah,
surveyor. Go ahead.
I'm pretty sure I heard last time that, there was a death in the family, and now they're
Yes, I
trying
heard,
to
yeah.
equitably split things up between all the children so everybody's happy, which is tough. But anyway,
Yeah, but wouldn't it be simple just to say, okay, I'm gonna give you that lot in Millbury and this piece over here?
well, but then they'd be back here for us to approve it.
They're gonna be back here anyway,
Why?
if they try to do something with it.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
But if they come back, they come back.
They might sell it.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I'm not crazy about these A&R thingies, but whatever. I think it skirts, I think it's skirting the
Yeah,
rules.
Franny, can I, through the chair?
Yes.
Yeah, I think the guy's done. I don't think there's anything wrong with this. I don't think going forward legally there'll be anything wrong with it, except for what we're approving it for. And after 50 years of doing survey, this is not an A&R plan for the town of Millbury. It is for Oxford. And the
So
problem
what's it-
is they're combining the two together. It makes it difficult. And I can see that, Javaris still is calling it a plan of property. He's not calling it an A&R plan either. Because he knows better, just like I know better. So unfortunately, even though the guy went and did the dividing and everything, unless we can pull that A&R out of there, I'm gonna have to abstain, because I can't vote for something I know that
So why is it an A and R then?
What, well, an A and R, do you see any road frontage on that lot?
No, I do not. But
On a
there is a
public road?
paper road there.
An A and R specifically says that you meet all the zoning requirements on a public road, and you've got access to it. This hasn't got any access to any public road, so from our perspective, I don't know how we can call it an A and R. From Oxford's perspective, I can totally get it, because they've got the street frontage.
There is no frontage on what he's trying to do,
In Millbury.
Millbury.
In Oxford, there is. You can see what the complications are, you know? I
And
feel
it's going to
sorry,
get
but
more complicated, as it goes down the road, and that's what I'm trying to avoid.
Yeah, I don't think we should be splitting hairs on this land that's buried way back in the back, and it involves Millbury for unknown reasons.
Well.
But that's just me. Anything else?
Where's the frontage on the road on Oxford?
It's over here. Federal Hill.
It's a right-of-way, actually.
Yeah, several of the lots in Oxford are on
Oh, I
Federal
see.
Hill Road.
Even if there isn't enough on Oxford, I didn't dwell into that too much, because I'm not sitting on the board, reviewing stuff for Oxford. I'm looking at our town only, so that's all.
You have anything, Tony?
Nope.
Fran?
No,
Paul?
thank you, but no.
So Connor, I guess, what do you think?
I've reviewed this, and I do think this is endorsable as is. It does meet the requirements of an A&R plan. Obviously, there are several parcels that don't have frontage on a constructed way, but they're labeled as non-buildable. So I think that covers it.
Yeah, but the words I don't like is "at this time."
I think that's written like that because there is a unconstructed right-of-way that, should it ever be constructed,
I see
those
that.
parcels could be then considered buildable, which is, I think that's reasonable.
And how does that gonna affect this so-called A and R we're supposed to approve?
I mean, it doesn't, because that right-of-way may never get constructed, but it exists.
Well, the right-of-way may never get constructed, but yet they want to combine them two lots to give them away. I don't get it. I don't understand.
Well, they're not combining lots, they're subdividing it.
There you
They're
go.
just
They're
giving-
subdividing.
Properties to the right.
There you go.
Can we not
Thank you.
drag this
That's
out?
that's what an A&R
Cool.
is, it's a subdivision of land
It
typically.
conforms to all the zoning.
In the
That's what an
town.
A and R is. This doesn't.
It doesn't. Not in this town. It
Not in
doesn't.
this particular case.
Well, you are-
That's why
you
if
are-
drop the A and R off there and just set a plan of land, I'd vote yes. Because I don't see anything wrong with it as that. I just see it as a problem because it's called an A and R. That's all. So the minute you put that into the thing, then I gotta say no, because
Sorry, just to clarify, you're saying because it does not say A&R, or it does?
it does.
does.
If we could do the acceptance without the A and R in front of it, I'm a yes. I'm serious.
I don't believe the plan does say A&R, but
The plan doesn't say A and R either. You know, Javaris is smart enough to know that this really isn't gonna.
Right, but this says A and R. So what? Is
So-
it an A and R or isn't?
I'm sorry.
yeah, I would call this an A&R, it's a subdivision of land, that's,
You can't do it.
Not I would call it. What is this submitted as? Is it submitted as an A and R?
yes.
Or is it as a subdivision?
That's, A&Rs are subdivisions, but it was submitted as a A&R.
So does plan of property change how you feel?
That's fine. It's just what he's got there. I told you,
So can we
Call it that?
accept
You
this
call it a
plan as written?
Subdivision plan of land,
So
it
can we
is.
accept this plan as written,
It's written.
plan of property?
I don't know.
Well, it's ultimately up to the board to vote whether or not to endorse this plan. But like I said earlier, I think this plan is endorsable as it is presented to the board tonight.
Through the chair, let me ask this question. I was told today that the town line means nothing between Oxford and Millbury,
Correct.
and that's a fact?
But it involves us both, that's all, because it's in two different towns. That's the only reason we're doing this.
Yeah, but I was told that the town line means nothing
Well-
in this case.
I suppose in this case, yeah, we're looking at the lots that they span.
We're
These
not
lots are
looking
in
at the
both
town
towns.
line, we're looking at the lots, that's all.
That's why it's in front of two boards.
Because the line goes down the lots. So if we accept this plan as written, I don't have a problem with this at all. I don't understand what the big dilemma is on it, because it's something they're just trying to get taken care of so that they can subdivide it between their family.
I know, and I feel bad.
And I don't think we're splitting hairs big time on this. And I don't think it's going to cause a problem anywhere down the road.
We're not splitting a hair,
No,
Bruce.
will cause, it could.
It's gonna be a
because
problem
of
down the
rust
road. Not could, it's
What kind
gonna
of
be.
problem could it possibly cause?
Because we call it an A and R, so we approve the lot as a lot.
So we can't say we'll accept this plan of property
If
instead
we
of
move,
this
if
A
we
and R?
chop the A and R up, we're golden.
We can't do that?
I mean, I think
can't we
it's
do
kind of, I think it's kind of semantics, but it's a,
That's the way we should word this when we make the motion. Accept this plan of property.
What, to remove the A and R? Can we do
Just
that?
take A and R out of.
Without him
what he's
being
saying.
here, we
It's
can
not
do
on the
that?
plan.
With the motion.
Not on
Just
the
take it
plan.
off,
It's
I'm
not
gonna
on the
vote
plan,
yes.
It's not here.
because I think he's done everything else and he's done it
Yeah, I think.
fine, you know what I mean? He's saying, anyway.
So are we still gonna endorse it, or just as a plan of property?
if that's what the board would like to do.
Through the chair?
Yes,
Can
go
I,
ahead.
Fran, can you help me understand what your, like, the end of your thought process is on where you're going with this and what can go down later on in the future? Just so I understand.
Well, no matter what you do, you're still gonna have part of the lot in Millbury and part of the lot in Oxford.
Yep, I understand.
That
but-
means if you're gonna develop that particular lot F, where the line goes right through it,
Yeah,
where do you get the building permit?
what building permit?
It depends if you squeeze the building over on
Millbury or
one side or the
Oxford?
other, right? I
Depends
mean,
what side the building
Yeah,
is in.
you'd have to get a building permit from both
Again.
towns.
There you go, you're gonna have to get both.
So the
both
property
boards.
line does matter.
It does matter. Well,
Yes.
I said that. It does
So it
matter.
does
But I
matter.
was, I said I was told that. And I said, how can that matter? How can that be? That it doesn't matter?
It's like now they're gonna get two tax bills too.
Yeah.
Well, they're probably getting
Sure.
2 tax bills now for that, that big triangle on the right there. But it's that lot F where that line's going right through it.
Make that motion for the plan of property.
Motion to approve the plan of property entitled 178 Federal Hill Road, Oxford/Millbury, Mass., dated July 19th, 2024, prepared by Jarvis Land Survey, Inc.
I'll second that.
I got a motion, it's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
That's 4-1. Okay. Are you sure?
Well, the lady's here, I don't,
Oh, she is?
cares about all the other stuff.
What's that?
The Hilltop one, is there somebody here to
Yeah,
speak
she's
on that?
here, right there.
Okay. All right. I didn't know that was, I thought she was with the CMRPC.
Yeah.
So we'll jump down a little bit to the request for release of performance guarantee for Hilltop Estates.
Connor, everything's all set for that?
Yeah, through the chair, I'll maybe let Stephanie introduce the request a little bit, but just to remind the board, or to let everyone else know, this was a project off of Hilltop Drive that was approved by a subdivision that was approved by the board in 2008, so this is going back quite a long time. Construction was completed in 2022, and they are now looking for the release of the last of the performance guarantee, which is $5,000, so that they need a vote from the board for that tonight. So I think,
Okay.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Adams, 191 Union Street in Holden. Yeah, this has been quite a saga for us. Originally, my aunt was on the property in Hilltop, and she had early onset Alzheimer's. She was single, didn't have kids, and we didn't have enough money to take care of her. So she had this buildable lot that my grandparents had given her. So my brother is a part-time construction, full-time fire chief, and we decided to try to do a subdivision to get a little more money to take care of her. In any case, it's been a long time. We are not professionals doing this, but we did the subdivision. My brother finished all the construction, and at that point, we found out that there was a trust that was developed for the subdivision. That when we sold the lots, none of the lawyers realized they had to change trustees from me and my brother to the new owners. So really, for the last 5 years, since the construction's been complete, we have been reaching out to the new owners, trying to get them to sign off as trustees, and we need 3 of them to sign off, and only 1 has ever signed off. So at this point, we've had 2 lawyers, we've had $6,000 of legal expenses, we've sent multiple letters to all of these owners, we've begged them and pleaded with them to just come forward, ask questions. We're not trying to hurt them. It's just they're the trustees, and we can't give the road to the town until that trustee portion is solved. So at this point, we're like, there's nothing more we can do. They're not going to sign. They don't seem to be interested. I think the road's just going to have to be private. We've done everything we can to get the town, to be in the position where the town can take it, and this is that last piece. It's been going on for years, and we're no longer the trustees. We don't own the land. We're done. The construction is done. So we figure we're done, and whatever money is left, we'd like to have back.
Fred?
The project is completed, the road and the whole 9 yards?
Yes, and been accepted by the town as well. It's been inspected. The engineers
road
signed
hasn't
off.
been accepted.
It's been inspected.
Inspected.
Inspected, oh, I
Inspected.
thought you said accepted. No.
Sorry, no,
Okay.
inspected.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. You've been up there and looked at it and checked
yeah,
it
so this
all
dates
out.
back to 2022, when the construction was completed. Stantec at the time went out and inspected it. This board recommended acceptance at town meeting, so did the Board of Selectmen. Town meeting actually accepted it, but
And then they had
as was explained, they weren't able to do the transfer because of the issue with the homeowners trust, so the road never actually got accepted by the town. So unfortunately, until this issue with the 3 lot owners gets resolved, this portion of Hilltop Drive, this little cul-de-sac, is likely to remain private. But the developer is coming before you tonight to seek a release of the performance guarantee that they put up
100 years ago.
Yeah, 15 years ago, exactly.
I understand. So you're on the hook for something you don't even own.
Exactly.
I got it. I'm just concerned that, will the other people sign off so the town can accept the street? Or are they gonna maintain it, and are they required by law to maintain it?
So as of right now, this portion of the cul-de-sac would remain private, just like there are other many private streets in Millbury, and it would be on the abutters to maintain it. It was constructed to town standards. That's why we had gone through the acceptance process, and we had Stantec review it. You guys recommended it. Town meeting accepted it. But again, it was just that final step of the deed transfer wasn't able to take place. So right now, it's constructed to town standards. It would be up to the three homeowners to resubmit for the acceptance. So I'm not sure if that will happen or not, but
Do you know, are they maintaining it?
I think the town's maintaining it, quite frankly, but I don't know. I haven't been up there for a while, but
yeah, I mean, it's still a pretty new road, so I don't think there's been much to maintain other than the.
Who's
the town-
plowing it?
The town may plow it. It's at the end of a
Well,
street.
it's only
It's,
3 houses
Yeah, I
on a
know.
cul-de-sac. You familiar with it? Do you remember it?
Yeah,
You do.
100 years ago, yeah. I remember
Well, we
that.
had it on our
I know
plate.
it came back and back and back and back and back several times. Several times.
Yeah.
I was just curious, who's taking care of the road now? We're plowing the road? I know it's only 3 houses. I don't know how long the road is, but costs
Just
money to
actually,
plow
to
a
be in
road.
defense of that one homeowner that won't sign, I bet it's not them. I bet it's the bank's attorneys that hold the
Yeah.
mortgage on the land that refuse to change anything. I'll be willing to bet that that's what's going on. That's not really the people, because they don't want to maintain the road. But the banks won't release it until they pay off. Well, they will. The thing is, they tell people, if you want to do that, then just pay off the mortgage. Well, I think they just purchased that house recently. She may have a substantial amount of money out on loan still,
I
which
think,
is impractical, and they can't do that. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
It's-
I mean, the one person that signed does still have a mortgage. And no one's come forward to the attorneys on the letters to ask any questions or get any advice or anything. They just ignore it so far. I'm sure it's probably something like that.
I'm sure.
But we've reached out so many times and there's just nothing else we can do. We really wanted to get this done for them, and at this point, we're just like, there's
No,
nothing
I'm-
more we can do.
I'm good with it.
And everything is all set as far as, what is it, $5,000?
Yeah, I know, it's not gonna break
It's not going
the
to do
bank.
anything anyway, so. Like I said, it won't even buy a manhole cover, I don't think.
Probably not.
No, no.
I'll make a motion to release the performance guarantee for Hilltop Estates definitive subdivision in the amount of $5,000 plus interest, so that $0 remains.
Second.
Motion's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Good luck.
You can breathe now.
You all set?
Well, at least you'll get your money back.
They're gonna call you tomorrow.
Did they sign?
just to let you know, the board did vote to endorse the A&R.
Good timing.
I was just, did Oxford sign?
Oh, that's him.
Did they sign on it? Yeah, I figured they would,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're all set.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to leave it, we can get it signed, and I can give you a call
Sorry.
tomorrow.
I didn't realize that was him.
Two meetings at
I just
one
saw the
night.
big roll of Mylar, and I thought, it's gotta be him.
Okay, next on our agenda is zoning bylaw discussion, section 46.2, accessory dwelling units. CMR PC is here to educate us a little bit more and give us some answers.
I can just give a little intro on this. So there's 2 items here, C and D, zoning bylaw discussions. We were able to get some assistance from CMRPC to help with some bylaw updates for these 2 items. As you might have remembered, we've talked about this a few times, that the accessory dwelling units, the state law changed last year, which has made our zoning, our section on ADUs inconsistent with the new state law. So we're looking to update our ADU section of our bylaw to be consistent with that change in law. And secondly, we're looking at incorporating an inclusionary zoning provision into our zoning bylaws. Very briefly, if folks aren't familiar with that, inclusionary zoning is basically a requirement for usually multifamily projects of a certain size that a percentage of the units have to be affordable. So that was a recommendation in our housing production plan, which was just completed and accepted or approved last week by the state. So that's an exciting update as well. But this is one step to implementing the housing production plan, is to get this inclusionary zoning provision into our bylaws. So Emily from CMRPC is going to kind of kick things off tonight and
Thank you.
go over everything.
I know about the ADUs.
Good evening, everyone. It's good to be back here. Congrats on the approval of the housing production plan. I brought some paper copies and binders I'll give to Connor if anyone wants to take a look through. And I assume it will be posted, if it has not already been posted, on the website. So now on to implementation and more complying with state requirements. So I have two presentations here, so I'll start with talking about accessory dwelling units, also known as ADUs, and then I'll be talking about inclusionary zoning, which is a zoning opportunity or tool that the town could put in its toolkit if you choose to move forward with some bylaw language, but we'll get into that in a minute. So just a general definition of accessory dwelling units: they're secondary residential living spaces located on the same lot of a single-family home. So any of these in this picture here would count as accessory dwelling units. Garage conversion, it's included in the interior, could be detached but on the same lot. Some of the benefits of having ADUs: there's benefits to property owners. They provide rental income, which can help offset costs to maintain and repair homes. Offers low-cost housing opportunities for adult children that graduated college, want to move back home, but don't necessarily have a lot of options in the hometown. Or other relatives, maybe older adults or their caretakers, to live close by or downsize while remaining in the community. There's also renter benefits. It adds small rental units to the housing inventory to meet the needs of smaller households, 1 or 2 people. And it also offers an opportunity for long-term residents just to stay in their neighborhoods and communities, not get priced out, making sure there's a diverse housing stock available at all sizes and price points within the community. So like Connor introduced, on October 6, 2024, Governor Healy signed the Affordable Homes Act after it was adopted by the legislature, along with including like a lot of funding towards housing in this Affordable Homes Act. It also amended the Zoning Act, specifically Sections 7 and 8, establishing new ADU laws and definitions within the Zoning Act. This went into effect February 2nd, 2025. EOHLC also provided ADU regulations that were finalized after receiving 400 public comments on the draft regulations that went out in December. So just a quick overview of the new Section 7. So this replaces the definition of accessory dwelling unit that was previously found in the Zoning Act. So this is calling it a self-contained housing unit, inclusive of sleeping, cooking, and sanitary facilities on the same lot as a principal dwelling, subject to otherwise applicable dimensional and parking requirements, that maintains a separate entrance. It is not larger than half the gross floor area of the principal dwelling, or 900 square feet, whichever is smaller. And it meets municipal restrictions, including but not limited to additional size restrictions and restrictions or prohibitions on short-term rental. So I'll get into that a little bit more. And then Section 8 was amended to allow ADUs by right in single-family residential zoning districts, subject only to reasonable regulations, including but not limited to site plan review, dimensional setbacks, restrictions on bulk and height, and restrictions on and prohibition of short-term rental ADUs. So Section 8 specifically prohibits any zoning bylaws and ordinances from imposing owner occupancy requirements for either the ADU or the principal dwelling, or imposing parking requirements for more than one parking space per ADU, except when an ADU is located within half a mile from a commuter rail station, subway station, ferry, any kind of public transit.
Through the chair, can I ask a question as you're going along?
Yeah.
If I could, thank you. In section 7, the gross floor area of principal dwelling, 900 square feet or no larger than half the gross floor area. So if you got a 1,200 square foot ranch, you can only put up a 600 square foot ADU, correct?
I would say that's correct, yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't count the cellars, the basements don't count.
Is that typically included in gross floor area?
No.
No.
Well, I'm asking you. I don't know.
Unless
I didn't make this law.
I didn't either.
Oh, okay.
Unless it's living space, like a finished basement, then I would say it does not count.
So what about building a garage and putting an ADU on top of it?
Does that count towards the?
Well, is that acceptable?
That looks like a garage conversion to me.
Yes,
Yeah,
Sounds like
that's
it.
acceptable.
that is acceptable.
Or you're building a garage and then you're gonna put an ADU on top of it?
As long as you're within the setback and height requirements, that would be allowed.
So the garage space isn't being counted as square footage,
Right, because that's not livable space.
but it can be.
Not as a garage,
Not
it
as-
can't be counted as living space.
Someone can make it into a living space.
Well, that would be the ADU.
Conversion.
That would
Oh,
be
the
the conversion.
ADU's above it. Now they got a garage.
If you build a garage and put it above it, the garage below it is a garage, above it is the ADU.
Yeah, but somebody could change that garage into a living space.
Well,
They
they
can
wouldn't.
do a lot of things, but they still
Yeah,
gotta.
they wouldn't get
permits
a
and
building,
stuff.
they wouldn't be able to get a building permit for that. If they did it on
That's
their own.
my question. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, and I definitely welcome questions
Oh,
too.
thank
Even if I don't know the answer right now, I'm happy to go and ask my colleagues and do some digging and ask the state and just get clarification. So that's why I'm here, just to make sure you all are clear on things, whether it's at this meeting or hopefully I'll return in future meetings too and discuss this more. Just some key highlights of the law. So when I say a single-family zoning district, this includes any district where single-family homes are allowed by right or by special permit, regardless of how it is named. So I think there's been some confusion about that in other towns as well. So wherever single-family homes are allowed, ADUs must be allowed as well. The principal dwelling, this includes any structure within a dwelling unit in a single-family zoning district for it, and I guess it does include duplexes, triple deckers, multi-units as well. So those can have an ADU as well. There's also been a lot of confusion on that part, so I've heard. Dimensional standards, go ahead.
What if the owner doesn't live on that property?
Doesn't matter, I don't think.
The
Doesn't
owners
matter?
can still build something, but there's no requirement for, you can't require owner
So it could be,
occupancy.
I could have a rental house and I want to put an ADU,
Yeah,
if it's okay, okay.
and it could be a rental ADU, or you
So a
could live in the
rental house-
ADU.
It's gonna be a
A
rental.
rental
ADU.
house with a rental ADU.
Yeah, that's allowed.
Just gonna increase the housing stock.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what this is, yeah, I hate to say this, but what
Yeah,
it's
I
think
know.
about? I think we need to have 2-acre zoning on all our lots now to make sure we got enough room for the house and the ADU unit. Instead of having a 1-acre lot. What do you think, huh?
It's a good idea.
I mean, there's ways of getting around this if we
You guys-
really have to, you
It's
know?
been talked about cutting the lot size down, so I
No,
don't get it.
no. Yeah, well, if we do that, I'm sure our Attorney General here, whatever her name is, will find fault with that, too.
Okay,
Anyway.
okay, where are we?
Where were you?
Just going over a couple clarifications. So yeah, like we said, size limitation, ADUs of 900 square feet and larger are allowed as a more permissive regulation, so long as all protections and requirements meet the regulation. So if you wanted to, you could allow ADUs up to, 1,200 square feet if you wanted to, but it can't be less than 900 or half the gross floor area of the principal. And then short-term rentals, this has also come up kind of in the planning circles and other planning boards. So this is a municipal choice that is unaffected by ADU regulations. If you want to implement restrictions on short-term rentals that are existing within ADUs, you can, but you don't have to. So what can communities do versus what can you not do?
Nothing. Why they just put
So-
nothing?
So municipalities may impose reasonable restrictions and requirements for site plan review, Title V, regulations like dimensional setbacks and bulk and height, and short-term rentals. What you cannot do is require owner occupancy for the ADU or the principal dwelling, require a special permit or other discretionary zoning approval for the use or rental of an ADU, so it has to be allowed by right. Require more than one parking space for an ADU located outside a half-mile radius of any public transit, or if the principal dwelling is within a half-mile radius of public transit, require any parking for an ADU. And even if that, so I learned this last week, even if that public transit station, so if the Worcester station was like right next to the Millbury border, for example, that would count as within a half-mile radius. But I'm not sure if that, we'll have to
Yeah,
look into that.
I don't think
more.
we have any areas in town that would fall
Okay.
under that.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so you're good on that.
Let's see, municipalities may impose reasonable restrictions and requirements for Title V. It gives us the right to make sure that their septics and holding tanks are big enough to hold an ADU.
As far as I'm aware, but I'll write that question down, yeah. So I think under the current zoning,
To be able to force that.
yeah.
Well, that should be
No,
under
we
the
should,
Board of
but
Health.
who's gonna, is that our engineers that are gonna review that?
Well, that's
We're
the Board of Health reviews
Board of
Title
Health
V
reviews.
Board of Health,
applications.
I was gonna say.
And, yeah, they would still need to meet all Title V requirements, so, which includes some size requirements. You need a certain amount of area for.
Well, yeah, if you're gonna tie into an existing septic system,
It has to be.
it has to be engineered
Yeah.
to take that, to,
Okay.
Right.
be
I was
able
just
to handle
looking for
it.
clarification on that.
Yep. Great question. All right, then I just wanted to kind of quickly go over what your existing zoning on ADUs looks like. And then I just quickly kind of went through and I flagged a few things that would currently not kind of comply. I also want to note that this is different than the way the MBTA zoning, community zoning requirement was structured, in that they gave you kind of a specific timeline to have new zoning implemented, and there were repercussions, for funding if you didn't have something implemented. That is not the case in this. So there's no like kind of strict deadline. It's just, you have to be able to grant these ADUs after the February 2nd, initiation of it.
So why does the state need us?
What do you mean?
Okay.
Why do they
Let
need
her-
us?
Let her continue.
Go ahead,
please.
I'm sorry.
I knew this would happen come this board. So right here, you're saying the planning board may grant a special permit. Right off the bat, it has to be allowed by right if it's in a single-family zoned area. You're also talking about owner occupancy. That also, you can't mandate that under these new regulations. Yeah, in the existing zoning, it says the unit shall not exceed 800 square feet. It has to be, like we said, 900, or the other option. Says at least 2 off-street parking spaces must be available. You can't do more than 1 parking space. So these are kind of things that, like, myself and Connor will kind of go through, and whether we just amend the existing zoning or come up with an entirely new bylaw. And I'm also just looking for feedback from the board if there's other things, like while we're looking at this, if there's been issues in the past with permitting ADUs and other elements you want to include.
I have a question. It's, in Millbury's current zoning ADU bylaw, it says, "No parking space shall be located within a street right-of-way." We can enforce that, correct?
I think that that is something that could still be enforceable, even under the new law.
That's my question. Well, because they're saying, yeah, you don't need a parking space, give them a bicycle, I don't know.
I think that's trying to say basically the parking space has to be on premises.
On private property, right? Not the parking spot out in front of my house.
Right,
Right.
not on-street parking.
Right.
You're out of compliance.
Okay.
Oh, and it looks like here also in the bylaws that there's like a quota for it. They also say that you can't implement any kind of maximum number or quota.
Where are we?
I went to
Page
slide
6.
12.
Yellow down the bottom.
Big chunky yellow.
Okay.
Bruce?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I think we're all, out of your 6 pitches, there's only one that we're really upset about. The other 5 are fine. So I'm wondering, I don't know what the board thinks, where we're limiting the size to 900 or less than half, unless they use 2 through 6, then it's negotiable to increase the size. Because then it'll be attached to the house like we always wanted all along anyway. It's just that standalone unit that we need to
Oh, so
discourage.
are you saying, give them the option of 2 through 6, and they can have it at whatever footage? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, something like that alliance, yeah.
And try to talk them out of option 1?
Yeah, I don't want to look like Chelsea or Somerville or, it's just Newton, you want me to go on, Brighton, Brookline, they all, one
So-
on top of the other.
You want to teach,
Kinda like what we
reach
got.
out and touch your neighbor.
Huh?
You can reach
Reach
out and touch your neighbor.
I don't
There
know
you
if we
go.
can, we probably can't do that either, can
I
we?
need a cup of
I
sugar.
didn't think so.
Okay,
What's
thank
that?
you.
I doubt we can do what you're suggesting.
Why can't we do that?
So what I think I might have
Because we're
heard,
still allowing it.
yeah, so what I think I might have heard you saying is that we have to allow detached ADUs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But maybe be more permissive for attached ADUs to
Yeah.
encourage those.
what's wrong with that?
I think we could do that.
It's not stopping them from doing it, it's just giving them a better option.
So you-
Right.
So basically saying you could maybe do 1,000 square foot ADU if it's attached.
Right, that's my line of thought on it, I think it would be, just like we are now.
Yeah, but
It'd be identical to what we are now. People
they don't even have to come to us.
Well, yeah, now they don't have to.
Right, so.
How do you do 1,000 square?
Well, if he's going over the 600 or whatever the limit is, then they gotta come to us and ask.
Right.
So they don't have to come
So
to
you-
us if it's a detached
You
also?
have to require,
No.
you have to allow 900, but I think
Right.
what he's
So
saying
how do you
is
do 1,000? That's my
that
question.
the town can choose to be more permissive.
Or
and
you
say-
can allow more?
Yeah,
Every town is like that?
Just not less.
right.
Just not less, yeah.
Well, as long as you got a bathroom, you're good to go. Bathroom and a parking spot.
You don't need a parking spot.
You don't need a
No, you need a
bathroom
parking
either.
spot if you're within.
Oh, that's right, you don't
Within
need
a
a
half a mile.
Yeah, right, right.
listening.
Bicycle will suffice.
Sure.
So, just out of curiosity, your highlighted areas, are those the only problem spots that you're seeing? Is that what you're
There
saying?
might be
Or
more.
there's
It was
probably a
my
lot more
first
to
look.
it? This is just a summary, right?
Yeah, that was just my first kind of go over the.
I think what
zoning
she's saying,
bylaw.
she only spent 15 minutes breezing through this and they get
It was a long presentation. I didn't have that much time.
I'm sorry.
I don't know.
Okay.
But I'll be back at the July meeting as well, and Connor and I are going to dig more deeply into the the existing zoning, come up with some drafts.
Yeah, we need a
hopefully.
lot of help.
And I think,
It would be good to have a nice bylaw for this ADU thing.
yeah, so
Put
the
something
goal is
together.
definitely to have a bylaw that is in harmony with the state law, and to make sure that it reflects, to the extent practical, the town's vision for, what ADUs should look like. So whether that's being more permissive for attached ADUs to promote those, or it does allow for a limited site plan review, so if the board wants to still review ADUs, they can, but it would be a by right process, and we might want to take a look at, what that actually looks like, because it maybe shouldn't be, there's not a ton of wiggle room that the town or the board has, so kind of figuring out, if we do a site plan review, what you guys are actually looking at, what you're reviewing. So there's some options, I think, that we can play with as we put together a new bylaw.
I think they should hold these hearings in Boston. Because we ain't getting to make any choices. We're not gonna make any choices at all.
Continue.
Any other questions? Or things you want me to kind of like dig into while I'm
Currently, no.
doing
I would
research?
Have to read more into it. Terry, do you have any questions?
Yes.
I figured you would.
Hey, I'm right.
Terry Burke, Dotson, 20 Cielo Terrace. How do you know? See my eyes flickering. Does this law require that only the building inspector can approve ADUs?
It doesn't say anywhere in the new language that that's the case.
So it does allow for a modified site plan review. Like I was just saying, we could set up a new bylaw so that the planning board has a site plan review for ADUs. It would be pretty limited on the scope of the review, because ADUs would be by right, so anyone can do them by right, but it still gives the town a check on these plans before they actually get built. But ultimately, yes, it's the building inspector that issues the building permit for these.
But the building inspector doesn't approve the ADU, in truth. Now, the reason why I bring that up is that not always do we have building inspectors or that grant things that are not from the town, or don't know the area, or don't know the people in the area. They're not old townies. That's not a bad thing, but the advantage in having it come before the planning board is that it opens it up to the public. And there may be somebody living on the other side of that number one who doesn't want to look at that house and wants it on the other side, and they can make their opinions known, knowing that the ADU will be approved. Not taking that away, but in giving the neighbors in the neighborhood the opportunity to speak and give their input before it's approved. And it will be approved. I'm not taking that away. But I mean, that's the advantage in having it come before the planning board and not done behind closed doors where nobody knows about it, with a building inspector that may or may not know the area. The planning board knows the area. The people in the neighborhood know the area. Thank you.
May I? Terry, there's no,
Hold on. Did you have something that you wanted to say?
No, let's just go back.
All right, go
oh,
ahead.
I'm sorry.
Fran, you're up.
There's no purpose for it coming before the planning board, because there's very little control that the planning board has over it.
I think if we tried to do what you're talking about, I think it would no longer be a by right.
Yeah, and I think that's where we would just need to calibrate
It's a
any
fine
site
line
plan
that you-
review process so that it isn't overstepping and, requiring too much of a review or whatever. But the law does allow for a site plan review by a town approving board, which is you guys. So that's an option.
And, well, we would have to really get in depth on the site plan review to see what,
The purpose of it is.
what's the purpose of the site plan review, yeah.
Right. I think the way that our site plan review is set up now, there are provisions of that would be too, intensive for an ADU. So I think it would have to. we'd
To
have
tune it up to that process. I got you. Okay.
Basically, all they need is the setbacks. You got your setbacks, boom, throw it up.
That's right.
That's all that matters. That's it. You got your setbacks, throw it up.
And height.
Right. And this would not take away,
Oh,
the
height.
plan of,
Well, you know what I meant.
the idea of coming before the planning board, it will never take away by right. It will not take away by right, but it's going to be more, you're going to have more harmony in the neighborhood if the people know about it and look at it. They may make a recommendation that the building or the owner say, I see that, yeah, we can do that. But it gives a chance for people to come into agreement on it, and they're not blindsided by all of a sudden seeing a construction company come in and never know what's going on. It's just better, it's more informative, it involves the people, and I think you'll have a better reception of it.
You can see all the people that are interested.
Yeah, there's people that are probably watching it on television.
Oh, I'm-
Don't be alarmed by people not sitting here. I'm the only one that'll come out.
On
You know.
Terry's,
Raining though.
Terry's
I know it's raining.
comment,
Yeah,
would
thank you.
something like this by right, is it, does it require the owner to notify the abutters?
I think that's something that there is
That we can work
we'd
on
have
as
to
well?
decide on, yeah.
Okay. So maybe we could look into that a little bit, too.
Definitely.
That's just gonna make more trouble.
Yeah. Can I, just,
Yeah.
because early on, she tripped on one of my favorite subjects. Funding from the state.
Funding.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, how much funding have we got from the state for housing in the last 3 years?
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Broad-
zero.
It's kind
I
of a
get you.
broad question.
In other
$50
words, the
a
funding
night.
is just that, it's a joke.
Yeah, but you got buttouts in the center of town.
What?
You got those out.
Oh, the butt-outs? Okay, I'm
Curb
sorry.
cuts.
Bump up.
Pump outs. You need more? Do you need more?
Yes.
You got the funding for that. Do you need more? Pump outs, do you need more?
Okay, next.
That was just the warm-up presentation.
Oh,
This is gonna be our final
we're
one.
gonna-
Aren't you glad you come here?
I'm always happy to come here.
We're gonna have more fun?
Yes, we are. If it's okay to move to the next topic.
Yes, please.
Okay, so the next topic is inclusionary zoning. So this was included in the housing production plan as a potential or a recommendation to look into, just so the board is aware that this is something that other towns and cities are implementing. We can come up with some draft language, see if you like it, if you want to move forward with it. If you hate it and you really don't think it's appropriate for the town, that's okay. I just want to make sure that everyone's kind of aware that this is something that is an option.
This is
So.
what you had talked about before, right?
Increasing the lot size?
I have a question.
I think that's a great idea.
I think so, too.
I can't get by the first sentence. What is inclusionary zoning?
Let her,
Great. I'm so glad you asked.
Thank you.
So, inclusionary zoning, this is kind of a general definition. It requires that a certain portion of units within a housing development be set aside as affordable to low or moderate income households. So essentially, it's relying on the private market to generate affordable housing by tying the production of affordable housing to the production of market rate housing. There are a lot of different approaches to this, so I brought a few examples from other communities. Would love to hear thoughts, and I'm sure I will hear thoughts of what you like and dislike about each one. Before that, I'm just gonna go over kind of some background and elements of it as well. So some benefits to this type of approach to zoning is it's kind of, other than requiring the town to administer the policy, it doesn't require a public subsidy. This is all relying kind of on the private market side. If affordable units are required on site, it can create more integrated and blended and economically diverse communities, particularly in locations for people that otherwise might not be able to afford to live there. It offers a more clear and consistent approach to the permitting process. It will help Millbury make progress on its 10% affordable housing threshold under Mass General Laws, Chapter 40B. Just a reminder that the town is at 221 units, or just under 4%, when the state requires that towns and cities set aside 10% of their housing stock as affordable. There are also, if
And
developers...
excuse me, how many cities and towns meet that threshold presently?
I think
I
about,
only
think
know-
about,
There's 351 communities, I can tell you that in Massachusetts. How many meet that threshold?
I think about 20%.
20%?
In southern Worcester County,
So they don't think that
There's-
maybe that 10% is a little high?
That meets
it's a rule that, or it's a law that was implemented in 1969. So I agree, it's maybe needs to be reevaluated, but that's for another time. The town also has a municipal affordable housing trust fund. So this would, if the town were to have a payment in lieu of units option, so instead of developers actually building the affordable units, they would set aside a portion of funding for the town. It could go towards the town's affordable housing trust fund, which I believe currently it is not active.
We don't have one,
We do have
Technically do. have
technically
one,
have
We
an
do?
affordable housing trust fund. It was approved by town meeting like 15 years ago. But
okay.
it is not, there's no money in it, there's no funding mechanism.
Well, we have it.
Well, there-
Wow,
Well, we got it. Well,
we're
as long as-
serious about
Well,
housing.
there's usually, like, the town hasn't passed the Community Preservation Act, which is usually one way
Nope.
that
Funds
it
it.
gets funded, or through inclusionary zoning. So there isn't, right now, we don't really have a way to get money into that trust fund. But we do have it on the books. So that's like a,
This is
one
something
step's
we're
already been
working towards.
completed.
Yeah, you want to take our money and build a fund, correct? Is that what you want to do?
No, it'd be the builder's money.
Yeah, this would be the builder's money.
Builder's money? Good luck getting that.
They can give it. That's what she just said.
Yeah, I know. They're not too generous.
All right.
Okay, I'm sorry, go
below.
ahead.
No, that's okay.
We'll just, yeah.
All right, some of the challenges associated with this, a lot of developers and professionals do argue that inclusionary zoning increases the cost of market rate
Yeah, it
units because each project has to cross-subsidize the affordable units. If the cost of the affordable units is too great, developers might actually decide not to build at all, resulting in fewer overall units. It also doesn't necessarily serve the neediest households. Lower income units require a deeper level of subsidies, making them more likely to render a project financial and feasible. And also, it's a long-term strategy, so in any given year, the number of units produced could be pretty small, but it's more of a cumulative process. Some elements that are typical of inclusionary zoning bylaws can be voluntary or mandatory. Mandatory programs are usually more effective in producing affordable units. Voluntary, it's also known as incentive zoning. So if the town implements kind of like density bonuses or parking, lower parking minimums for affordable units, that could be more of an incentive approach. There's a requirement threshold, so the town would have to determine kind of what that would be, like what would trigger the policy. If it's once a developer hits 10 units, then 10% of those units have to be affordable. So that's something that you would decide. The affordability percentage requirement, so what percentage of the development would be affordable? Would it be a 10%? Would it be 15% of the units should be affordable? You would also decide that. The income levels targeted, both for rental and ownership units. So there's a number of different kind of approaches to that, which the examples I'll show. Alternatives for unit location. So this is whether the units have to be on-site, whether affordable units could be built off-site, or in the form of payment in lieu of units. Incentives or cost offsets can also be incorporated in, like density bonuses, things like that. The length of affordability requirements, so you'd have to say, okay, kind of define what affordable is. So I think the city of Worcester has any affordable units have to be affordable for a minimum of 30 years.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Can we define what affordable is, or do we have to default to what the state says affordable is?
No, you could have your own definition of what you consider affordable units. So a lot of towns do go with what the state sets, but
No, they wouldn't like my, I'm sure it'll get rejected by the Attorney General because it's not high enough for them. But, yeah, no. I think if we do anything like that, we probably should use our own number, and a more realistic number anyway.
yeah.
This pie in the sky.
Where are we gonna get our number?
You don't like the pie in the sky?
No, not unless it's banana cream. You know, then- no, it's- I don't-
Well, this whole thing is a pie in the sky.
Okay.
I don't know.
Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay, almost done with the slide. And then the geographic area would also be defined, so it could be just for certain neighborhoods, or it could be across the entire town. So the first example I included here, one that I'm familiar with and Connor's familiar with, is the city of Worcester. So this ordinance applies to any development in Worcester that results in the net production of 12 or more residential units. So anything under 12 for the city doesn't have to include affordable units, but anything 12 or above, they either have to provide affordable units or they have to provide a payment in lieu of units. Like I said, the affordable units have to be deed restricted for a minimum of 30 years. And there's kind of three options that they provide. At least, the first option is at least 15% of the units have to be affordable to households earning no more than 80% of the area median income. So again, that state definition of affordability. The second option is a lower percentage threshold of what needs to be included, but they have to be affordable to households earning 60% of the AMI. So really, that one's kind of targeting those more kind of needy households. Or it can be a combination of the two.
We can decide to keep them forever, not 30
Yeah,
years.
it can be in perpetuity, yeah.
Okay.
And then the other option that they have for payment, I believe they have a housing trust fund as well. And if a developer chooses not to build, then they have to make a one-time payment equivalent to 3% of the total construction value of the development. So that's just a quick summary of how they structure their inclusionary zoning.
Can we avoid that option?
The payment in lieu?
Can we skip the 3%? Because they're all gonna go with the 3%. They're not gonna build the affordable housing based on what we'll probably tell them is they gotta get for rent. They're all gonna say, well, we'll just pay the 3% and walk.
Yeah, unless there's like kind of incentives that are in the bylaw too, just pushing developers to actually build the units.
Yeah, the 3% payment in lieu is an option that we could or could not do. It could potentially fund our affordable housing trust fund so that then the town could turn around and kind of
But
help
we wouldn't
create
have
our
to
own
keep it at
affordable
3. We
units.
could keep it at like 12% or something
Yeah, I mean,
substantial of that would actually
you have
mean
to
something.
you have to balance it with, if you do 12%, nobody's going to build anything in Millbury because it would not be cost effective. So it's
Well,
to-
it looks like,
Well, it depends. Look at what they're getting for rentals at these apartments that they're building. We don't need any more apartments in Millbury. We need some low-income housing. We need a lot of that.
so
right,
Providence
but
Town
if,
really gets it
for
hard.
for it to pencil out, I think we have to calibrate what
Okay.
these are.
I
let her
understand
have-
what you're saying.
Let her carry on to.
Yeah, really the trick with this is finding that cost-effective kind of balance. That's not going to scare every single developer away, and you're never going to get anything built in Millbury again. But also realizing that if
A lot
there's
of
an
houses
uptick,
and small businesses, and everything. We just won't get big high-rises. Anybody see a downside with that one?
Not me. I just want to know why I'm getting compared to Worcester and Provincetown. Don't we have
no,
anybody?
it's not a comparison. It's just examples that I found that were
Okay.
three different
I
examples.
was curious if Auburn or Oxford or
I can look into some smaller towns and see what they have.
something comparable to us. See what
Sure,
they
Grafton
did.
has it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Grafton.
Grafton would be a good one.
Yeah, there's
Well,
But they're
something
stricter than
comparable
we
with
are.
us,
Pretty
that's
busy
all.
town.
They got apartments everywhere,
Yeah, they do. They're building all over the place.
everywhere.
Yeah, they also got a lot of main roads.
Yeah, so I chose this Provincetown example. I found it interesting that it kicks in with developments over and that end up in a net increase of 2 or more units. I found that kind of interesting. That's why I included that in there. So this could apply to, whereas Worcester, it's developments of 12 or more. The
Yeah,
inclusionary
that's
zoning
all
policy
state.
would kick in. This is, this has 2 different kind of, a development of 2 to 5 new dwelling units would require a payment in lieu to be contributed to the housing fund. It doesn't require new units, but it requires a payment. Whereas the development of 6 or more dwelling units, it has a few options there, whether it's building new units or contributing a payment. I just found that interesting.
Yeah, they got quite the formula.
Yeah, don't ask me to explain the formula, please. I
I
have to look at that
understand
a
the
little more to
formula, it's quite the formula.
Yeah, exactly. But you can see how that's what they decide, what is kind of affordable in their own community, you know, based on market rents, based on what it costs to develop. They kind of did create their own formula there. So that's what Millbury, like Rich was saying, could create kind of its own definition of what's affordable, what's kind of fair for a developer to contribute.
Does anybody, have you got any numbers, sorry, can I, Bruce?
Yes.
All right.
Go ahead,
Ca-
sir.
Have you got any numbers, you know, like, you say this 3% affordable housing, what, 3% they're gonna donate. But then you take the fact that you're not at the 10% level. So along comes contractor Joe, he comes in and puts an enormous 40B in on you, you know, and the town ends up putting all of this extra money for infrastructure or whatever to help support this. How does the 3% work out against all the money that you're putting in because you're not at the 10%? Has anybody ever done an analysis of that? It'd be fascinating to see the numbers on that one.
I mean, I can pull numbers for like examples of, like, I have a pro forma for what it costs to develop in Worcester, like kind of based on current numbers. So I can pull those kind of numbers. Is that what you were looking for, or something else?
Well, no, I'm curious, you know, everybody says, well, you're gonna get 3%.
But like,
But
what
are we,
actually is
but
the-
are we actually losing 5%?
I
Because
see,
we
yeah.
didn't, you know, because,
I don't think I mean, the town isn't necessarily losing money. It's a,
if it is, if it's gonna get caught up in infrastructure and shit, and stuff like that. Sorry. Sorry. Sorry.
yeah, well, I mean, I think typically, even without inclusionary
right
zoning, a lot of people would look at the tax benefit of a new development versus the infrastructure costs. Usually the tax benefit of, you know, this new multifamily apartment building is going to pay a lot of money in taxes, usually offsets any infrastructure costs that the town would see from the development of that building. But this is an opportunity.
Okay, that may
to-
be, but for how long? 20 years, 30 years before we break even, or what? I mean, I
Yeah.
don't see it, I just don't see it favorably for us as a town.
Apartments
Well, this
lose
is-
money.
This is a
Costs us
payment
money.
on top of, you know, tax increases that we would see through development. So this is on a payment in lieu of constructing affordable units. They pay into this fund, where the town could then go and create additional affordable units. So it's just an option if we want to move forward.
No, I get what that is.
I understand your question too, Rich.
I don't get,
It's 3% of the total construction cost of the
Correct.
project,
Right.
which would be
Who knows what it
in the
would,
millions and
could
millions.
be. Yeah,
No, if it's a $10 million project, there will be 3 million.
right.
I think that's 30%.
Yeah.
30.
What?
300 grand.
Yeah. I think it'd be
3%.
300,000 in that case, but
I don't think it's that high.
Oh, 300,000.
yeah.
Oh, I did 30%,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Extra zero in
Hey,
there
they
somewhere.
throw numbers around, I can
There's a lot of
too.
numbers going on here.
I can too.
About math tonight.
Okay, so we got a lot to consider here with all this stuff, huh?
Yeah,
And you're gonna be working with Connor regularly on this, is that correct?
yeah, definitely.
Can we do the last page?
Definitely. So yeah, so this is the town of Ipswich. I found this interesting because they break up the percentages required based on ownership and rental units. So for sale units, if a developer constructs like condominiums or something, at least 15% of the units have to be affordable to households earning 80% or less of the AMI. Versus for rental units, at least 15% of the units have to be affordable to households earning no more than 60% of the AMI. So they're really targeting the lower income, like very low income, renters. And I also found this interesting because they actually set up a fee schedule. So instead of
that.
the city of Worcester setting aside, okay, for every development, it's just a set 3%, they, on this page with all the charts, based on the number of units, that's how much you would need to pay in lieu. I need to look at this more because it doesn't exactly make sense to me.
Yeah, it doesn't
because
ma-
some of
I-
them have $0 and I don't understand that. But this, I took this directly from their page.
I'm trying to understand this.
Yeah.
Well, it says 50 units, and payment in lieu amount is 149.
Yeah, that might be
1,000.
because they require, if it's 50, that you have to build units and you have to
Yeah, I think
do a
it's-
payment in lieu.
It's like a sliding scale.
It's, yeah.
It's a sliding something, because it says 20 units, you pay 0. I don't,
Yeah, but just as an example, like instead of doing the Worcester version where it's 3% of development funds, you could set it up where it's for every unit you would get a certain amount. So I just wanted to put that on the table and say this is an option. So how's that? Any questions?
I think we, well, it's nice to ask them as you're talking. so we
Yeah,
can,
of
you know,
course. No, I'm
Well,
happy
it's
to.
fresh on mind, on top, what do they call it, top of mind?
Yeah.
Know what they say?
Top-
That the new word, in top of mind? Something like that.
So, I want to be a developer for a second here, just to clarify my mind. What I have in my head for a picture on affordable housing in a 300-unit development, that's a lot of houses. Only, what's that give us, 30?
30.
30, yep, 10% would be 30.
How, me as a builder, how would I be able to build an affordable unit on a development this big? Would I build different kinds of houses? Different square footages?
From the
Smaller?
outside, they're not supposed to look different than the market rate units. But I think you could use like cheaper materials, I guess, on the inside. I think that's allowed.
Well, there'll be 1 bedroom instead of
Yeah.
3 bedroom. That
Yeah.
type of thing. I think that's your question, Bruce, right?
No, it's really not. My question was what she said, that I can't make it, I can keep the same style house, but I can make it smaller?
Probably. Yeah.
I'm saying.
Unless you wanted to, yeah.
I'm using an example, you're not going to know this. What is it, Memorial Drive?
What is it?
Here off of
Rice Road?
Memorial Drive.
Memorial
Oh,
Drive.
Memorial Drive.
Off of Grafton Street.
Yeah,
So those are small, two-bedroom units, right?
right.
They're like, I don't know, 600 or 700 square foot houses. Is that something that I could do as a builder to make these affordable units?
I mean, it's like maybe a 20 duplex development. Yeah. I think that like that style of building would be permissible, and it would fall under an inclusionary zoning bylaw like this, where like only maybe 4 of those duplexes would be affordable.
The thing is, the problem with society today is you gotta have a 3,000 square foot house to move into, because, that's what I want. And I want a development where I'm gonna have neighbors with the same size houses.
Well, I think we've been seeing a lot of multifamily developers are building smaller units because they're more economic to build, and a lot of people are having smaller family sizes. So it's usually just a couple or, a couple and a kid or two.
Averaging 1,500 to 1,800 square
Yeah,
feet.
so I don't think, for the most part, you don't see new multifamilies being much bigger than like 1,500 square feet,
Right,
maybe 2,000.
yeah.
Well, Clearview, they just sold one for $790.
Yeah, but that's clear.
That's only 1,800 square feet.
These
Not
small,
affordable.
These small condos that are being built here and there in town, they're averaging 2,000 square feet from Dave, and he's turning those over at a pretty big note. So how could you make them affordable, I guess is the question. How would you do that?
Well,
How
so
could
it would be through this bylaw. So if you think of like Clearview, where there's 142 units, if we had a bylaw like this in place, let's say 10% of the units had to be affordable. So that would be 14, 15 units out of the 140 would be affordable. And if they were, like, those are condos, so they're being sold. So for the affordable units would have to be sold at an amount that the town would determine is considered affordable. So if they're selling for market at 700 right now, affordables maybe 400. I don't know. That's where we could.
So
It's not gonna go along with that.
we're gonna go in the real estate business? Is
No,
that
I'm
what
just
I'm
trying to figure
understanding?
out.
I don't know. what-
Terry, you have a comment for this question?
Jeez, my foot's falling asleep, for crying out loud.
Me
Sit
too.
down. I gotta get up more often and talk to you. No.
Oh.
Terry Burke Dotson, 20 Cielo Terrace. I live in a 40B development.
You
Know
do?
that.
We were all, yes.
Yes.
Yes. And all of us had, when you came in, you signed your contract as the houses were being built. They had standard carpeting, they had standard kitchen equipment and stuff like that. So you either took the standard and got the affordable unit, or you had the option of upgrading the carpeting, upgrading the, the stove and everything else. He asked me what I wanted for a stove, and I said almond. I didn't know. I don't know, I want the color almond. I don't care what it is, just put in almond. All right, I can't cook, so I didn't care one way or the other. But this is where your options came. You had the options for the cabinetry, you had the options for windows. So they offered a standard house, and if you qualified, great, that's all you were getting, nothing more. But if you wanted to have higher stuff, that's how it was done. All of the designs were the same.
Okay.
Does that help?
No,
No.
It doesn't satisfy
because if you
me.
upgraded everything, then it's not affordable housing anymore.
Yeah, it's like,
Well, that's out of
it has to be a
pocket
better
money.
way to
That's
do
your own
something like
money
that.
that you gotta
Because
upgrade.
it's not affordable, really,
If you
in
wanna sell it
reality.
in a year.
It's like he said, the one that sold for $790 would be $400. Who can afford that? Right? That's not affordable. That's a lot of money.
400?
Yeah,
No, 790.
no, the 400, that's a lot of money. That's almost
Right.
$500,000.
Right,
Yeah.
which, I mean, houses,
That's
as we know,
affordable? No.
That-
The shortage
I don't-
is
I
real.
don't know. Well, according to Boston, it is.
That's where
Problem
the
is
big question
nobody
comes
knows
into
what
play.
affordable is.
What is affordable? How do you come up with this?
You get that formula,
Yeah.
60%
go
of
by
80%
Boston
of
money.
20%, give you 10%.
You mean the $8 for $2?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the hardest part of it all, the affordable part. Because 400's not affordable.
So therefore, we don't do inclusionary zoning. That takes care of that. Next. See how easy that is?
I don't have any questions right now. I want to let this sink in a little bit.
Of course.
Does anybody else have any questions? No? Terry? None?
Good.
Really? Okay. All right. I guess that'll do for
think-
the
yeah.
C and D zoning bylaws.
I think we
Well, next
harassed
meeting.
you enough.
Is it okay if I come back in July and we bring this up again? Or
Yes, absolutely.
I'll give you enough time to recoup.
We're gonna look forward to it. We give you some time to rest before you come
Yeah,
back.
and my email's there if you ever want to email me.
Oh, okay. Nice present. Thank you for the information. still confused, but what else is new?
What do we got, minutes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of May 12th, 2025.
Second.
You got a motion, it's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. Mail and staff updates. Do we have any,
Not much on my end. We already kind of touched on it, but I did want to share that the housing production plan was approved by the state last week. So we now have that in effect. It's good for 5 years. Yeah. So that, and this inclusionary zoning discussion is part of the, one of the implementation steps. So we're looking to refer to that as we move forward, similar to the master plan or the open space plan. So I think that will be shared out later this week on the town's website and stuff. So you can keep an eye out for that. I know the board was interested with 56 North Main Street. If you remember the 6-unit project that was approved a few meetings ago. On the elevation drawings, we just got those in today. I'll share them with you. I know you guys wanted to take a look at them before we gave them the okay for a building permit, so I can share those with you, send them over email this week. We did get the federal filing for the 269 West Main Street cell tower. So town council will be monitoring that case for the board and the town, and I can keep you guys updated on that. And
Can I ask you a question on that? Wasn't that denied a couple of years ago also?
that was denied like 25 years ago.
25 years ago.
Yeah. But it was for, at that
It's a
time,
different reason now, right?
yeah,
you wanted a full-size tower, right?
the tower was like 50 feet taller.
Okay.
So I think it was the height of the tower at that time was a big part of the denial.
Okay, and they didn't appeal that?
No, but I think it was a different company.
Oh, okay. I was just curious, thank you.
But I think that's all I have for updates.
Rich, did you have something you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, well, at the last meeting, when I found out that the Brandywine Village has been, bylaw has been denied by Andrea Joy Campbell.
Oh, she's the Attorney General, ain't she?
Yeah, she's the Attorney General, but actually Kelly E. Gilligan, and whatever, is the Assistant Attorney General that's in Worcester. She actually wrote the letter, but just for reference. I was curious as to why we got denied. And the first part of it, I remember the zoning map. Okay, I remember talking about the zoning map, whether we really needed it, because we were reverting back to what we had before, and we all decided, nah, we don't need to go through that grief for nothing.
Right.
Well, apparently, the legal department and the State House cannot understand without a map. Okay, so they denied it because of the map. That was okay. I guess I could understand that to some degree. What I could not understand was, they also denied it. We determined that the bylaw amendments do not reflect a legitimate planning purpose. That is BS. And when you go back into a little more of a description, I tried to figure out what they meant by that, you know what I mean? And I get into this, and I read about this, and it says, it is unclear whether the development promoted the zoning changes adopted under Article H6. However, we note that determining perceived undesirable uses is not a legitimate planning purpose.
Is that?
Thank you. That's the detailed description, and then they reference some case that unless you got law books, you're never gonna figure out what's going on.
Something from 50 years ago.
So my request is, can we get from our legal department there, what the hell this is? Or did you get it?
Why did it
you
get
look into
denied?
this at all?
I did, and I did have a discussion with town council on this. Kind of, I know the board had questioned if there were any additional steps the town could take at this point. It would need to be appealed to Superior Court, which would be a pretty significant undertaking by the town. both like time and money-wise kind of thing. I believe it would be the selectmen that would need to decide to do that.
How about, can we just create a new one? Put the map in there. Give it before the town again.
Yeah, I mean, I
Do
think
that?
that might fix the map problem, but maybe doesn't get over the legitimate planning purpose problem.
Well, you wouldn't have
Well,
to,
I think if all he's hanging on is a legitimate planning purpose problem, our town council can beat that.
Well, wasn't it,
Well, yeah.
wasn't it, the warrant was, at the end was, I remember she had to do some work to it, and it was, she just wanted it to go back to what it was, but she wasn't sure what it was.
Yeah, I think the way that the article that was approved by town meeting read was essentially that the zoning would revert back to its previous classification, which I don't think
Okay.
was specific enough for the Attorney General to approve, and it is very typical that zoning map amendments include
Because
the
if you're
new proposed
creating
map.
Yeah.
an area,
Yeah.
we're decreating an area and they still want a map. Whatever.
Well, I don't agree with what she put in for the warrant, to put it back to what it was, which was industrial, is that correct?
Yeah, the previous zoning classification was a mix of industrial and suburban.
Suburban and industrial.
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
why
the mill there
couldn't,
was industrial, so.
I don't understand why
Sorry,
I
can
couldn't
you say
just
that
go
again?
back to that.
The mill that's there was
Right.
Yeah,
industrial.
the whole area was, all the houses.
That was all mill, that's all mills over there, all West Main
Well,
Street.
Millbury was mills.
Yeah, well, yeah,
It's Millbury.
there was a lot of mills everywhere, not
I don't
anymore.
think, a lot of that was residential of sorts.
I know where your mill is.
Sorry.
Yeah, so, I don't know if I would agree with appealing it, maybe rewriting it.
I think, yeah, I don't want to go through the legal expense, but how about we rewrite it
Yeah.
and submit it again?
It doesn't even have to go before a town meeting, does it? Because it was already approved. All they're saying is the
No,
map
well,
ain't there.
it's like we're doing it over again,
gotta go to
otherwise we're gonna have to
town
go through the legal.
It has to start all over again, yeah.
Yeah.
It
If
would
we
have to
start all over again, hey,
I wish they would do their work as bad as they make us do ours.
okay.
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 So,
I would feel better about that, because we had the town say that they wanted to do this. And, you know, I don't see an attorney general sitting in Boston that can just sit there and say, well, you're wrong.
Oh, you
We're
didn't
gonna
see,
do it my way, and, you know, and that's pretty much what's going on here.
I met with her at the Old Time Inn,
But who?
the Attorney General.
Oh, you're one of them, huh? Okay.
No, she's one of them. She's paying. Okay, what do you want to do now?
Make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
I got a motion, it's been seconded. All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
That's
Okay.
unanimous.
Good night.
Happy 4th of July, everybody.
Oh, yeah?